Good morning. Hope you're well. Hope I've still got some fucking viewers left. Because I think I've been pissing some people off lately. Because I think that people have realised that they might be a bit of a sucker. I know I have. I've realised a few things and it's pretty funny actually. But if you haven't been watching my Twitter account or my social media, you realise that I have... It's a little bit... It's one of these things where it's incredibly complicated underneath, but there's a simple answer, but it's complicated to explain with a lot of moving parts. And it's very easy to start looking like a fucking... like you're crazy and like it's a conspiracy theory. But what we need to do, right, is... Okay, so I did a big thread, and what I'm going to do is walk through that thread for you, because I think that this might, if I can stop not fucking waffle for 5 minutes, walk you through my thought process and my conclusions, right? So I was wrong. Well, I think we've all been wrong. I think we were maybe overcomplicating a lot of this stuff. And the thing that I had to do, like I've showed you in the previous videos, is that I had to sit down and try to map this out, right? Align it. Part of my process is to not assume that things are new, right? So a lot of the way that I think is that there's nothing new, right? History, that saying, history doesn't repeat, it rhymes, or history repeats, that there's things that we can learn from principles, there's things that we can learn from truth, there's things that we can learn from history, right? That are more likely to be true than it being some sort of weird new phenomenon. And I think that that's where we're all wrong, is that my assumption was that this was something new. And I think that a lot of the world is like that because we see that the internet is new. Therefore, I think, in our minds, right, we think that this is a new thing, but it's actually just, it's fascinating, it's evil, but it's also disappointing, a little anticlimactic, and also a little bit dry. Now, the reason why I think I'm onto this, right, is because I just happen to be the person. I was saying to Paul yesterday that in that movie, The Invisible Man, with Elizabeth Moss, right, where he's put on a suit and he's terrorizing her, right? She knows about the suit, but everyone else thinks the dude's dead, and she thinks she's crazy. I feel like I know how the suit is made. I think I can explain it. How the suit works is complicated, but I just need you to come along the ride with me and say, okay, I believe you that there's the suit, right? Let's just use that as an analogy to sort of help. So, because it can look, especially because, stutter and shyness and complexity and ADD and all that stuff, it's easy to make it look like I'm insane, but I'm not. There's a lot of theory here. There's a lot of argument. Now, so let's work back from what is true. So, what's true? History. The United States foreign policy, the history, right? McCarthyism. I showed you that stuff the other day about the CIA's interest in postmodernism in terms of imploding the left, right? I would argue that McCarthyism hasn't ended, it's just ongoing and morphed, right? That is true. What I find, there's so many side points, but one of the things that I find really interesting is that now that I've mentioned that kind of explains why you all give me shit about Marx. I had no idea that you've been taught like that basically being a Marxist is like the false equivalency in your mind of like Nazism. It's bizarre. Like that is fascinating to me. So, and that you've got these scripts that, you've been propagandized in since the Cold War. And this is why Russia is such a convenient and evil enemy, and China is a convenient and evil enemy. And it's just very fascinating. This is going to be the chapter in my book, and it's called America Online. And again, there's a bunch of assumptions that we have made along the way in this crazy global landscape that is the fucking world and the digital world. which is that we're speaking English, but we might not be speaking the same language in many ways. So I find that very interesting. So the cultural differences, misunderstandings. So I think it had to be an Australian digital expert who was also got a political science degree, who also happens to be a parent and had a child protection degree, who could see grooming, who understands how evil and marketing can be and all of the dark patterns and manipulation tactics in marketing and all of these things, right? It's almost like my entire career led to this illusion with me being the only person that can see the fucking Invisible Man suit. Anyway, so it's very complex. There's a lot of disciplines, and there's going to be a lot of people that argue with me, especially Americans, because as I've argued in previous videos, I believe because wokeism is a liberalism, US exceptional, liberal friendly ideology version of the left. It's a palatable version, which means that again, I've got to do some research because a lot of this is more about, there's a lot of this is where we get into the fucking hardcore psychology and linguistics and psychology of linguistics and all this sort of it's very complex, right? But this is the idea that I'm going down. I'll get to my point, but I'm saying, which is that there's a big fucking misunderstanding here, which is that, and also some big lies that Americans have been told, right? And the West, but America, you guys have been propagandized to fuck. Right? Again, what's true? I saw signs of this during 9/11 where you guys lost your minds and there was this all-out fucking thing, right? The French fries. Remember, let's go back to freedom fries and French fries. And I find that interesting how easily activated Americans are when it comes to defending. It's almost like you guys can be at all-out war with each other, but the second that someone outside suggests that, something might be there's something to do with America, you guys get very defensive. I saw Tim Pool doing that the other day where he's like, shut up Australia, shut up Europe. It's like, maybe a little outside perspective on this one might be good. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. So I find that really interesting. But what we know to be true is that elections are big business in America, right? We know that all of the funniest scams. It's a fucking grifter nation, right? It's great. This is the love-hate relationship I have with America, is the audacity of the grifting. It's just the perfect fucking grift. It's amazing, right? We know that elections are just, big money. But the big lies that we've been told, right, is this idea that Americans have democracy, that American exceptionalism, right? Americans have democracy, that there's no, that they have free and fair elections, right? And all of this sort of stuff, right? What if the opposite were true? What if your democracy was actually just a big lie? And I'm just this is just thoughts. Seeing as, people tend to be arrested for incitement now. So I've got to be a bit, if I'm speaking on the internet, so I want it clear that we're thinking, okay? But the problem of dark money in American politics is another thing that we know to be true. But there's also myths, right? There's a lot of myths that allow these big lies to occur, which is, again, this idea that the woke is the left, that the Democrats are the party for the workers, or the good guys. That a billionaire who wears jeans and a t-shirt and perfect white teeth is a nice guy. So if the billionaire is a nice guy, then he's a nice billionaire, versus the evil oil baron caricature fat cat wearing Republicans, because they're evil. They're the evil oil barons and the military guys and all those big tobacco. They represent the old right. Okay. But what if the right has a different face to it, which is jeans and a t-shirt and a smile, right? What if I suggested to you that Facebook, Twitter, that Jack is more powerful than Rupert Murdoch? So why is he considered the good guy, right? This is what I'm saying, right? You don't get $1 billion by being nice. Exactly. Doug just said that, right? You just don't. any billionaires, right? I'm not, millionaires is a bit different, right? There is room. This is where, there's room in social democracy for people who work hard and build businesses to see, that's another big lie, right? Which is that socialism, you can't be a millionaire under socialism. Of course you can. It's just got to be a fairer distribution of wealth. So, so billionaires are a symptom of a failed system. Right. And that's what I find really fascinating is how America has been programmed with Stalin, right? They just go straight to Stalin. It's just very weird. It's fucking weird, right? Because it's like, well, no, Marxist analysis in like every other country, not so much now because obviously this fucking virus has infected all of us. But when I was, 20 years ago when I did my first degree, it's a philosophy. It's benign. There's no call to action. There's no anything, right? And anyway, so that's just a side point. It's fascinating. But this notion that somehow tech billionaires and oil barons and the wars and the fact that the bullying worldwide and the body count that the sanctions body count alone is in the millions, all of these uncomfortable truths. And it's right in front of people where they go, but it's like, do you realize that Stalin has killed fewer people than American capitalism? And that's what I find very fascinating, because that's an argument that even the left do. The woke left, the media left, all of these people, right? They're still anti-communist. They still don't. They'll critique their government, but in a gentle way, not in that uncomfortable truth way, which is, right? I know some of you do. Right, thinkers do, but again, it's just really what you've been taught from the grave. And I'm not saying I haven't been propagandized to in a different way, right? We all have, right? That's part of, like, nations are effectively like cults, right? You're born into a religion, you're born into your nation, and you're born into that worship. So I'm not saying I'm not either. I'm just saying the outside view is that Americans need to face some uncomfortable truths about their own history, things that I assumed you knew, right? And things that I think it's fucking interesting, right? So many. I know I've wandered off, but I think that sets context. But I think that I needed to get that out, because a lot of this stuff is, people are going to get angry with me. They're going to yell at me. I'm going to start talking about things like the solution is not liberal. Oh, sorry, that's right. The solution to something like the woke cult is not another version of liberalism, because wokeism and postmodernism is designed to support and support the liberal system. You can't pour water on a gas fire. Sorry, you know what I meant, an oil fire, right? They think they're putting the fire out, but it's actually, the problem is the oil underneath. Go figure. So, and I'm going to say some uncomfortable things, like reading actual Marx and changing, Marx is the solution to these things, not liberalism. So you're going to get angry at me. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, whatever. But we need to talk about dark money. There's no cult. The only cult is the cult of the USA. And that sucks, right? I know that sucks to hear, but it's true. It's the cult of US exceptionalism and staring me in the face. So, my tweet thread. This one is going to explain how to build a cult. I know it took me a while to get there, but I needed to add some context. If I was an evil marketer, right? Because I run a digital agency for 15 years. Up until I saw this stuff getting too evil, and I thought, no, I need to be out. So I sat down and I went, okay, so where did I see this going? If I was approached by dodgy interests, right? Again, assuming we know what's true, which is that power corrupts, money corrupts, and that greed is fucking everything, right? How would I get, let's use these are hypothetical examples, not a conspiracy theory. They're just thought experiments. Let's say that let's say I owned a biotech company that wanted to do cloning, human cloning, right? Human cloning is illegal in the United States. It has ethical problems. There's a whole bunch of doctors that would be opposed to it, right? Let's say it's, those sorts of things, right? What would you do to get your agenda met? You couldn't donate. You couldn't do a direct donation because that stuff's watched. But what you could do is say, attach yourself to like-minded interests, right? Again, there's no allies or enemies, only interests. What you would do is set up. So again, we need to understand dark money. Let's do that. Let's just move there. My brain's I just farted. All right. You need to understand how dark money works because this is the thing. Also, there's key things that you need to understand. Dark money in America using charities and how that flows and how untrackable that is, and also the organizer's handbook. I've talked about that in previous videos, but I'll go through that in more detail. Dark money refers to funding spent independently of campaigns to influence elections. Funds from anonymous donors flow through tax-exempt non-profit super PACs and LLCs, right? So what they do is you can't just, let's say you want to clone humans. Okay, it's a really stupid example, and it's going to make me look like I'm mental, but it's just I'm trying to think of something that's like really unethical, or let's say you want to you're human cloning, or you are, for example, wanting to transition children. I'm not going to go there. I'm not saying it's that's what's happening, but there's a lot of money in this, right? Let's just say that you want to push forward something that is deeply unethical. That would have a lot of controversy attached to it if it became, if you just sold it as a service. What would you do? How would you approach this, right? So like in terms of a campaign, well, what I would do is make the easy bit more palatable, like the idea that trans is true, okay, which it is, right? But you also would do is silence your critics. You would make sure that you but the first thing you would do is make sure that you silence your critics. The second thing that you would do is create compelling propaganda, compelling arguments, launder it through, like Big Tobacco did, right, with cancer studies. Think about that, right? Think about how they did that. So just think about how you'd approach that if you were like the most evil biotech billionaire in the world who wanted to do unregulated, unethical shit, okay? But you can't donate to the political party. You can't donate to the PAC. You couldn't even set up a charity, right? Because those things, they're watching. But what you could do is set up a network of charities, all with niche causes that utilize postmodern theory, that are basically just marketing and money laundering by the digital agencies that do all of the ad spend. Okay, so I think the answer is in ad spend. So the last 3 presidential elections have seen dramatic growth in dark money spending. This is insane, right? And the reason why this is the case is because I think a lot of it is because digital ad spend. They figured out that Facebook and digital agencies, right, like Acronym and those sorts of agencies, Hawkfish, those sorts of agencies, because the way that it works, I've run one, is that when you have an ad account, like a master level ad account on Facebook, and what you could do is have 100 clients running on that one account, but you can run the ads on behalf of all of your clients at that super admin level, and you can allocate funding, but you actually just, like, there's a pot of money, you just pay the ad bill, you just a single ad bill, right? So hypothetically speaking, what you could do, if I was an evil person, what I would do is set up 100 charities, right? 100 Facebook pages. This is a simple version of it. Set up a digital agency or a tech company or whatever the fuck they do, right? I know what they do. And I would make them part of a broader network with me and all my rich buddies to launder all of the dark donations through that shit, right? To get ads, to get the party that I wanted elected. Now, so what I would do is do that. So reported dark money spending is 10 times more than it was in 2012. That's unreported. So it's about unreported income, basically. I'm not going to go into too much here, right? But 501c groups are the primary source of dark money spending, right? They're non-profits because they can raise unlimited sums of money and engage in some political activity. But remember, The definition of political activity is vague as well, right? So let's say something like I don't want to name individual ones, but the network. We know the network we're talking about, the fucking, the social justice network that all seem to have the same about page, right? And have the same and recommend that you donate to the, same group or network of organizations. They're not allowed to do political activity, but what they can do is do recruitment. They can do fundraising. They can do events, and they can, create assets and propaganda and shit, right, for their individual cause, right? You're only allowed to do, I think it's only 40%, if I can remember correctly. Sorry, I can't remember the number, but I'm saying, like, there's ways to hide these things. But what they can do is hire a digital agency on a, tens of thousands of dollars a month retainer and then some for marketing services, right? So that's how they would do that. They would actually then, so underneath that. So I'm just trying to explain my thread. This is context. So what I did here, right? There's this tool here that tracks online political ad spending at Facebook. It's really interesting to see because if you go to the big spenders here, right? Mike Bloomberg, Trump, these things, right? Biden, they all look legit, right? See how they look legit? But what this one's an interesting one. But what I'm interested in is the under $25,000. And this is funny, right? Because you start to see cats against Trump. That's funny. All right. Again, I'm not going to go into this because this could be, I'm going to go bit by bit and keep tracking this. You can go and have a play with this yourself. It's the Open Secrets online tool. I've linked to it. But there's lots, but there's 58,000 of them. There's a lot of them and they're all bullshit, right? Where are we? Let's find a conservative an example. Now, what you see here is, see how, now this is where the agency I needs to come in, right? Because let's just pick on one. I don't know if they're part of the network. I'm just using it as an example. Actually, let's use Cats Against Trump because that's the one that I used. So internet ads, where are we? Cats Against Trump. Let's do that because it's funny. All right. So this is their. So there's a tool here where you can look at this stuff, right? So you can actually see the kind of things that they're running. But you can see their active and their inactive ads, right? What they've done. So there's a little bit of transparency here, but it's really fucking interesting stuff. It's quite the rabbit hole, right? But you can see how they're, but they're doing micro budget stuff, right? Now, remember, a lot of this stuff is not so much about the way that they're very tricky. So what they do is the key is to get the lead so they can actually do direct marketing. We've gone through the Digital Organizer's Handbook before. It's worth going through that again. I'm trying to get a mega post of this together, but I linked to it in the thread. But have a look at the way that it's all about getting that email address or getting that one-on-one meeting or getting that person involved, because people are not going to volunteer or sign up to a digital agency or a Facebook fan group. But what they are going to do is sign up to a cause or a charity and their network of charities, right? And again, I haven't articulated this clearly, but I'll show you, right? So this is just some of the numbers. This is, again, I'm still mapping this out. The answer is it's simple, it's propaganda, it's basically like televangelism and Amway and MLM met politics. It's a scam. It's a money laundering scam through digital agencies. That's the simple answer. The complicated answer is why and how the suit works. Okay, that requires a lot of fucking stuff. But I'm just showing you some stuff, right? That's the context for this thread that I posted yesterday. So there are 61,000 Facebook accounts. So when I talk about the account is Cats Against Trump, like the individual page. right? But what you need to know is that a digital agency, like say, like let's say I had 100 of these pages, I would, as the agency, that would not be the account, right? I'm the agency, but I'm running 100 of these accounts, right? And what I found interesting is the allocation of funds, right? So I'm not going to go into too much detail with this because it is dry and I might have to go through it piecemeal because it's actually like a fucking whole course in its own right. But basically what you could do, if you're running ads across 100 Facebook pages, what you would do is you'd go, okay, allocate $1,000 a week to that one, $1,000 a week to that one, $5,000 a week to that one, $2,000 a week to that one, $5,000 a week to that one, $25,000 a week to the candidate who everyone's watching and, to the big names. But what you would do is also just funnel the money down to these low level accounts, right? So you'd have 100 of those and you'd distribute them, but they go to the actual billing, right? Can go, it's a pot of money that goes to the one spot, right? So how I think this works is that the 501c4s, right, which is charities, right? Not for profits here. They're, associations. I'm not saying this can't be a thing in Australia as well. I think the digital agencies are the launderers. If I wanted to be rich, I would fucking just go rename my brand and just go after this shit, right? Set up a bunch of charities, right? This is how you would do it. This is how the sausage is made. Look, page created 13th of July, 2020, right? A lot of these, right? So it looks transparent, but what a lot of people don't look for, right? You've got to look at the small amounts of money, because when you're laundering, you can't, this is how money launder, you got to understand this. So again, there's a lot to work, but how you would launder money is in small bills, small denominations, small amounts of money, small budgets, right? So they've spent a total of 24,852, right? So just under, again, it's one of those things where they sit beyond detection. So in the, so it's good to, anyway, just have a look. But it's just interesting. But what they're trying to do here, this is an interesting one because they're not using the quiz, right? They're not using the quiz approach or the those things that Cambridge Analytica were known for using. These guys are actually just selling merch, but they still have the same end goal, which is you bought this T-shirt, right? We have your details. We will then engage you and contact you and send our organizations, share the information at the master CRM level, share it with activists who will then groom you into activism. So you then become basically a walking soldier who drops flyers in the street for free, right? That's basically to use the analogy, right? So I know I probably wandered off a bit here, but I'm just wanted to show you this. It's very important context, and then I will go through this thread. So the numbers, 61,000 Facebook accounts. Right? So agencies manage multiple accounts, right? They're currently spending, these are made up numbers. These are averages, right? Again, spending $5,000 per week on insane propaganda, and it's just ticking along, right? So that's the bottom end that nobody looks at. And the ones that Facebook knows about, because these are the things that are flagged by the Facebook team as political, right? There's other avenues like, Facebook groups, car groups. That's why you're seeing like all the SJW, all the activists infiltrate and start shit on Facebook groups because they're told to try and take them over. Look at the Digital Organizers Handbook. You'll see what I mean. They're fucking soldiers. They're just trying to get the leads, okay? So this is just fucking one part of it. This is that pure advertising, running of ads that tick along to get leads. There's a whole other fucking like scam going on here of recruitment. But this is not, there's no direct or email spend. That doesn't include Google spend. I haven't looked at Google, haven't looked at Twitter, haven't looked at media buyers, haven't looked at, sponsored stories, haven't looked at anything other than this is just Facebook ads alone. I think my numbers are wrong. I think this is meant to be 5,000 per month, but just go with me on the numbers. It's still fucking mad numbers. All right. So with that, in a digital agency, you've got developers, creatives, people who produce content. You've also got a lot of subcontractors, freelancers. So you can funnel money out to self-employed people who are just, and a lot of these people don't know what they're doing. They just think they're making fucking, election, like memes. They don't know what's going on. The important thing about the ladder of engagement is it's very much like a cult where, it's a need to know basis. That's how the best scams and best MLMs and best pyramid schemes work. And cults is that there's a sort of a need. Everyone is sort of at a certain level and you level up, right? Scientology. Think of Scientology, right? You don't know about the other shit, the big shit, till you've sort of been groomed, or most of you just volunteer or fucking try to get drug rehab, right? Most people don't know what's going on with this thing. Now, the innocent person who shares a meme or does a quiz or buys a shirt or, has a conversation in a Facebook group, right? Even the person who's recruiting them doesn't realize, because they've been propagandized to fuck, right? So anyway, the 501c4s, they're on the radar. So everyone's aware of this dark money, and the fucking IRS and stuff are watching, right? The reason why they're not going after these things is because the departments are so under-resourced that they can't get to all of these fucking things. But you need to know about it. But I found our woke cult leaders, LOL. That's the punchline, right? This is one example. I'm not saying that they're doing this. I'm just saying I'm using them as an example because they're the ones that have the most polished thing and the most traceable thing in the ad library. Like, they've spent like $2.5 million or whatever. So meanwhile, they use guides like this, which is the organizer's handbook. I would like for you to have a look at that. Right? Oops. Anyway. So here we go. So what they do, they have a charity that hires a digital agency. The digital agency has hundreds of clients, right? Some of them big, some of them small. They have a network. They are within a network of 501c4s who are receiving large amounts of donations. Like, for example, if you're a tech billionaire who gave $10 million to a Black Lives Matter charity for some reason, or, that sort of thing, right? Again, think about how you would do this if you wanted to do like donations without being noticed, right? And also looking like the good guy. See, that's the thing, is also that celebrities are kind of unwitting in this because they think they're just giving to charity. I'm sure a lot of them just think they're giving to charity because they're rich people with guilt who don't actually do anything. So they just give money. They think money just solves the problem. So it's the perfect fucking scam. So anyway, meanwhile, so basically they set up their PACs. They set up a PAC, they set up a digital agency, they set up like a network of 501c4s. Now, also remember that these PACs are a network and the digital agencies are a network, and the way that they network is through the tech platforms that they create with their other startup bros, right? So this is a fucking elaborate matrix network of fucking agencies, 501c4s, and basically using Facebook ad platform to launder donations. So meanwhile, they use guides like this to get unwitting, well-meaning activists to use the radicalization playbook. So what they do is they recruit. Again, it's all about getting that email address, getting the email, making the connection, making that great new friend, right? That's the evil and cynical part of this. So to understand the scale of this, you need to understand that ad spend is minimal once they've gotten someone on the hook. So their email address and this poor recruit, right, for a one-on-one meeting, right? Again, you got to read the handbook. I can't do everything in one video. I'm just going to pique your interest, right? But the poor brainwashed person is free advertising to all their friends and family. So when you think they've been radicalized online, they have. Not by a cult though. It's not political. It's money. It's advertising. Okay, they've been radicalized by business interests into believing whatever fucking bullshit social justice issue they've been recruited into, turned into an extremist so that they can then get leads. Okay, South Park did an episode about this, I think last season. Your friends are ads, or sorry, was that a few years back? It's that, right? So basically, they're using MLM practices, but the ad spend is only a funnel for leads, okay? So then they use the poor people, radicalize them, and get them sharing messages and talking points for free. So it's MLM and influencer marketing on steroids, right? Which they call moving the needle. Which they do all of this shit, right? So there's a whole thing there. You can read it. So next time you see them accusing Trump or Russia of doing this shit, they're lying. The Davo, they're doing it too. And they're actually probably doing it at a bigger scale, right? Back of napkin. Now, these numbers are probably wrong, all right? I think that this is 300 million per month, but again, it's not factual. It's just a thought experiment to highlight the point. So $300 million per month ad spend, reaching pre-screened vulnerable needle groups, right? For example, first-time voters, young voters, and low information voters, right? So a conservative $10 cost per lead, right? That would equal, let's say 3 million email addresses, right? They harvest email addresses. Roughly guess of a split. Then they're radicalized to all fuck into the cult using the digital organizers handbook and the communities, right? The love, all of those things that I've talked about in previous videos, whether the love bombing and the, treating them lovely, positive and negative reinforcement in the community to sort of toe the line. And there you have it. You have your little woke cults. You have your cults, your online cults that are manufactured because of all of these social justice / political MAGA, whatever side they're on, right? They're on a fucking radicalization train fueled by ads because of all of these fucking front groups that are pretending that they're actually anything but laundering exercises. So the numbers are guesses based on experience. So the cost per lead may be higher, but you want to see your wokes versus MAGAs all being put on radicalization funnels. The ladder of engagement, which I've talked about, to nudge the needle. There you go. Here's your family fights, unfriendings, and cults. It's pretty evil, right? Yeah. So needle. So Jennifer asked. So Jennifer asked about needle groups. That I just referred to if you look at the page that I linked to, they call it nudging the needle. So those who would who would vote for Trump but could be persuaded. It's that persuasion score stuff from Obama. So they assign someone a persuasion score, and if they could be persuaded to change teams and nudge the needle over, right, and vote for the other side, right? Anybody who's fucking proclaiming that they're leaving the left, they're being nudged and radicalized. It's quite funny. But a lot of this stuff is based on cult psychology, right? The master book, right? And I've got to go through this. Okay, so this is just the Facebook ads part. There's so much more I want to go into, but, I'm concerned people will steal my shit. But it's worth noting that what's behind the digital organizing handbook that links in this thread is the Grand Master Plan, which is Marshall Gantt's Organizer's Handbook. So this is it's called the Snowflake model. It is a network of decentralized, empowered leaders but it basically just it replicates like a virus. It's a virus. It's a snowflake. But so it's a hubs and spokes, right? Network, basic network map, MLM, looks exactly like, put a pyramid scam and the snowflake model of activism next to each other and you see the similarities, right? Yeah, the persuadables, right? But they also, I don't call them the persuadables, I call them the fucking, they're victims, right? We have to stop softening it. They're victims of manipulation, of hacking their brains, right? I'm serious. It's actually very serious. So, because this is what's happening is that through this mechanism, right, that Facebook have no interest in stopping, right? They pretend that they're transparent, but everybody knows that you launder money through the small fucking donations, not through the big ones, right? And how digital agencies run. Facebook have not done anything, right? Because they're spending the money there. Right. And that's why then again, this is a leap, but we'll get there. So it's worth noticing, that this is, the digital version, like a digital MLM version of what, of the organizer's handbook. Right. Hang on. Let me just move so you can keep. All right. But yeah, it's not Russia, Russia. Okay. It's partially Russia, but that's just the Red Scare. Good bit of Red Scare for the American people. Right. Same old shit. But this obviously doesn't include sponsored stories, media ownership, influencer marketing, media buys, research grants, scholarships, or anything like all big tobacco and all those used to do, right? They fucking, and oil, right? All those things that they get through all of the institutions. They just buy their way in, right? This is what's happening. But if I were corrupt, and I'm not saying these guys are, I'd use front groups to recruit and agencies to launder the money, right? So there you go. There is a new religion, and that religion is good old money. The cult is the US of A, and the Red Scare is a nice little scapegoat to get rid of the pesky critics, like the parents, the TERFs, all those people, just shut them up. Meanwhile, all of those super online parents, it's not a coincidence that it's kids that are super online that are fucking being radicalized into thinking that, trans is real, and that literally, they're literally being fucking sold these lies via these mechanisms, okay, for corporate interests. But I can show you how they do it, and that's how you fight it. Problem is, I don't have a Facebook ad budget. I don't have 100 businesses. I don't have 100 places. I don't have donors. I don't have funding to be able to fucking fight this stuff with counter propaganda. And that's the problem, is that the only way that we can fight this is for people to know that they're being fucked with and walk away from it and ignore it, right? That's the only way forward. And to actually get some real class consciousness and see what both parties are doing to them. Not left versus right, but fucking, everyday people versus these fucks. So, Marxism. Marx totally said, kill, it's them fucks. That famous term, them fucks. So, but anyway, these inconvenient critics of our dodgy donations to get dodgy laws and dodgy Orwellian bullshit passed, or to look the other way when we do shit, right? Innovation, like the hypothetical that I gave you at the beginning of the video. Those pesky laws and those pesky parents and those pesky fucking barriers to us being able to do whatever the fuck we want, right? Which sounds more true? That there's a new religion that just popped out of nowhere? Or that evil fucking people who are pretending to be good people are doing evil fucking shit and is all corrupt. And they're fucking brainwashing our kids with these fucking apps. It's not just China. Okay, I've been wrong in the past. I've made the mistake of just going on, I believe, some shit there. I think that they're doing, China's a separate fucking issue. They're all doing it, right? It's just, we're in a Cold War. We're in an information war. But you need to understand that we're all victims in the information war, and some of us are being recruited to being soldiers without our consent. And that's the thing, okay? So not long ago, I teased that we should not underestimate the power of the woke movement, and that was because this was seemingly true. Right? I had to go through and dig, but this is what I was saying, right? While I'm still trying to pull some actual material together because, nobody funds the fucking, look what I'm up against. Look what I'm fucking up against. What's the point of doing anything? Right? Because it'll just get fucking, I'll get back, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what the next step is other than just trying to educate people in propaganda, because the largeness and the money that we're up against with this stuff, right? I mean, other than just not go on the internet and read books, but that's not a realistic fucking solution. And not trust any new friends that you make, and not engage in political discussions with your family, right? That's not realistic. So we need to find a way forward that maybe we can wake some people up, right? So basically everyone vulnerable has been turned into a walking advertisement, lured by that great new friend they think they've made, who treats you like a hot new lead. Again, read that fucking handbook or watch the video about the Digital Organizers Handbook and you'll see, right? Recruiters, they're doing exactly what fucking the evil, that's why it looks like a cult. But we couldn't find the leaders because the leaders are the same old fucking leaders. Okay? I was right all along. So they treat you like a hot new lead, radicalize you, and give you loads of swag and clout and shit. Okay, you get the love bomb, you get all the friends and the family and the social proof, and the social media love bombing, which could be a combination of real people, fucking propagandized people, and AI. All right, don't forget conversational AI. So for added measure, that great new online friend they just made contact with may also well be a bot, because conversational AI has gotten good enough to fool teenagers, especially maybe a vulnerable autistic teenage girl who's being convinced slowly that she's a boy, okay? Or maybe a lonely one who ignores all the red flags because they're naive and they're just desperately lonely and not more than anything, right? If you ever want an argument for not giving your fucking teenagers free access to social media, here it is. or you should monitor it. I fucked up with this. Like if I had my time again, I would not have let them, right? This is fucking serious. Anyway, so this is about 1% of the work. You can see why it's complicated and confusing. I need to I don't know whether this needs to be a fucking course, like a propaganda, how the fucking sausage is made course, excuse me, or just bite it off with bits and bits of posts. But I'm one person, man. And like even a book would be this thick. There's just so much to know, but I'm going to do my best to just feed it piece by piece, or answer questions or consult or whatever. I don't know. Like I can consult in cyber safety, but all of those people, they're all fucking bought by these. Like it's a fucking cancer. Right? The only thing is hope that there's like one or two free thinkers that pass these messages on and go, no, it's propaganda. It's advertising, and don't, putting in critical thinking skills and class analysis and actual Marxism, and understand the history of like how postmodernism and postmodern thought has been used as a fucking weapon for exactly this purpose, to propagandize for these corporate interests. All right? It's crazy. And also so that the US government can just demonize whichever government they want, that when they want their shit. Okay? Don't believe everything. Like it's just so big. And I don't know where to start, because nobody's going to fucking, it's all just like, I sit there and I go, well, I can tell you how it works if you want to be free. But, like this is up against some mad fucking sophisticated propaganda with powerful money. And, I don't know what to do. So all I can do is just keep using my platform to gradually trigger dissonance and questioning as much as I can. But no one's going to what I found interesting is how those who have like sort of fallen into one tribe in the culture wars, like the anti-woke people, are very quiet about my analysis, because they all do it on all sides. This is the open, like they said, open secrets, right? That's that website. Read that shit. But they're open secrets for a reason, because fucking all these grifters, you start to see things differently when you realize who sees my shit but doesn't share it, and how it goes very quiet all of a sudden when a tweet that's picking on the wokes and making a joke about the wokes gets fucking 3,500 likes and a bunch of retweets because it confirms their side. But the second I actually diagnose this thing, everyone's very quiet. It's interesting, isn't it? Anyway, but I wish I had more people to reach, but that's how it is. But it's incredibly cynical and unethical, but also incredibly dangerous, right? I mean, imagine if they were, using this stuff on vulnerable people to radicalize them into, it's basically the same thing that ISIS use. They use the same radicalization methods that that digital agency handbook uses on these kids. Front groups, same thing. I find it funny that, talking about Antifa as a terrorist network and all this sort of stuff, it's like, you're so close. But you won't actually diagnose the problem. What you'll do is you'll demonize the group that suits your interests. The other, not the fact because you will just sit and watch when people are sitting there and they're accusing the other side of doing this stuff when they're all doing it, and they conveniently leave out the elephant in the room, which is that fucking smoking gun, which is the ad spend, right? It's pretty funny. Anyway, I'll try and write more if I can. But yeah, I made a joke. I said, gee, I wonder why the NASDAQ is up. It must be all the Zoom calls. Lol. But anyway, so this is where are we? So here we go. So let's go. I'm not saying that this is what is happening, but if I was approached as a digital agency and had no ethics, this is how I would do it. I'd create a network of 501c around niche social justice issues using the Snowflake model and organizers handbook and train in that. Those use the same methods as ISIS. These are the same fucking methods as MLM, as cults, as ISIS, their radicalization, but conveniently gets left off. Okay? and all of the critique. But Russia did it. For example, this handbook. Give those 501c the digital version of the handbook with rigid tactics based on MLM, cult psychology, and viral marketing principles. For example, that. 3, perfect the ladder of engagement. You know, the old radicalization quiz this is a funnel. Radicalization quiz, get email, move up the ladder, aka Obama 2008. Getting donations to get your grassroots donations to make it look like it's legit. Right? So you got to run it. You can't just do this. You've got to do this alongside the legit spending because otherwise it looks dodgy, right? That's why Acronym and Pacronym have $2 million Facebook ad spends, right? But they also have probably, I don't know how many. Again, that's the conjecture. But what I'm saying is where to look, where to pay attention, where to let people know that where the books should be opened and where the scrutiny should lie, right? If you wanted to create something like this, which I would not, right, ever, it's just not, this is why I have to talk about it because I know what they're fucking doing, right? Anyway. 4, what I would then do is have the 501cs become the recommended bodies for every single person in the network who is campaigning and active. You know, so say a tech billionaire or pharmaceutical company could donate $10 million without fucking detection. I would set it up so that the 501c and a Democratic candidate both happen to be clients of the same agency, so they can share the pot of money. I would then send invoices for apps that look suspiciously low, so to make it to look legitimate, right? Like, for example, a caucus app made by Acronym in Iowa, where they only billed $60,000 for a critical app. That sounds low to me. I've made apps. 150 minimum, okay? Make it look legit. Build in plausible deniability. But it's only those who know, right? And those who are in the industry are all fucking evil and they won't tell you this. I'm telling you this because I'm not evil and I think that this is wrong. So this is what I'm saying. They will bill out the Democratic Party for an app, right? Or management fees, right? The activist groups would put them on retainer to funnel the fucking money. This is all hypothetical. I'm not saying they're doing it. I'm saying it's hypothetical and what I would do if I had no principles and I was corrupt. I would get the 501cs to be paying marketing fees and retainers because that's opaque. That's a whole bunch of things. That could be video production. It could be, AdWords. It could be anything. It could be creative stuff. Could be consulting. Could be tech. Could be development of tools. It could be platforms. It could be anything. So you can hide those. You can hide it in the ledger there. That's where you need to look, which is those invoices between fucking 501c4s and digital agencies and whether they are linked to a candidate or two, right? That's what you need to look at. Right? Or a PAC and all of those things. Or because also don't forget, it's illegal to share money between these organizations like PACs and 501c4s, right? But it's not illegal to share their data. And that's why they try to grow the email list, right? So what I would then do is send invoices for apps that look suspiciously low, but they're high enough so that the average person doesn't know because most people don't know what apps cost, right? I know what apps cost. I know that shouldn't be that low, right? I would then hook into a master CRM and share resources, platforms, and data flows between those agencies with subcontractors, freelancers, etc., who create materials. So get everyone to share that master list, right, in the CRM. So you've got a master CRM in those platforms, right? This is part of the organizer's handbook, by the way. Ask grassroots group leaders to email their own email list asking to add folks to your list. These people are already getting used to getting emails about progressive causes, so this will feel natural to them. Then collect their contact information and reach out one by one. These are hot new leads. Now, how that would work is by doing that, you build up also an interest profile on the people. So even if you've got their email address, this is why this is this network, again, this master CRM, because they can then segment based on what you're interested in. So if you sign up for BLM, right, And then they ask you to sign up to a different cause. And then they ask you, that's the thing about niche organizations, is that they are designed to also segment you. So if you engage with that organization, say the environment, and then you engage with BLM, and then they go, you're interested in environment, BLM. You see how that can be used to build up a behavioral profile of a voter and give them more relevant content with all their stupid fucking Facebook pages, right? Then they use custom audience, the custom audience feature, which targets you via your email address to get you specifically based on your behavioral profile with highly disgusting propaganda, and you're toast. Your brain is toast. You think that that's what's true, right? See how this works? It's fucking evil. And no one cares because they're all doing it. But like I said, it's just what I do. Thankfully, I'm not a crook. It's a lot more complicated, right? If you want to track the grey and black dark money, track the agencies. Bonus. And if I were Zuckerberg, I would refuse to take sides and laugh at all their stupid shit, like hate speech complaints and all of that sort of shit, because I know what they're doing. And I can do whatever the fuck I want because I know all their secrets. Starting to make sense now, isn't it? There's not going to be Section 230 reform. It's all theatre. They're not going to get regulated. It's all theatre and fear, okay? The free speech debate is it's a theatre show. It's a show, okay? They're fucking weaponizing and segmenting tribes of future customers and future voters that they can manipulate and nudge in any direction that they want, okay? I would refuse to take sides and laugh at all their stupid shit because I happen to know that they're all using my platform to launder money, and I could expose that in 3 seconds flat. But I don't, because I know they'll regulate me. So, open secret. The last one's speculative, but it's funny to think about. So I said I'd be interested to see these guys' books, right? Now, celebrities and blue checks, they don't know what they're supporting, okay? Again, most people, 99% of the people in this are just like you and me. They don't see this, right? They're fighting with their family. They're, some are more radicalized than others. They're sort of being steered into tribes, and that's why we're confused. It's why the world feels like it's off its axis, okay? Because there's no viable left wing critiquing this shit, because they've replaced it with POMO, replaced it with identity nonsense, kept us arguing about stupid shit, and using POMO and using these fucking woke idiots and the media and all of the tech companies to fucking silence anybody who fucking says this, what's up? Right? They silence critics, right? I don't know how long I'm going to last. That's going to be interesting, because if they do cancel me, it means I'm right. See how this works? But the TERFs and radfems and Marxists, the actual Marxists and, critics of the party, right? Orwell style. There's not the parties, the party. This is where we've arrived, right? Fucking toast. And I feel like I'm Winston Smith. It's like, fucking hell. Okay. Anyway, so celebrities and blue checks, they don't know what they're supporting. They're just guilty rich people who aren't bright, think they can buy their way out of being part of the system, right? Useful propagandists, but also naive guilt-like donors who assume their money goes to the ground, and they don't check because they're so far removed from reality that they just give to charity. So go easy on them, but maybe make them aware of what they're doing as well, that they're propagandizing for the rich. Middle-class blue-check journos are a combo of activists, brainwashed critical theory grads, and people who are working class just trying to keep food on their table, so they produce bullshit propaganda for food. Facebook marketing ads, digital, it's all just a big fucking scam, all right? So anyway, that was interesting. There you go. Don't you think that was interesting? Let me look at the comments. So I would love to share my stuff more, but left Facebook and Twitter. Well, see, that's the problem, right? That's the problem. I don't know what to do, really. I could share it on Gab, but that Gab is just another Twitter. They're still just fucking, they're all in the same culture war. They're all in the same US cult. They're all just, the cult of capitalism. and greed and all of this stuff. So I don't know how to fight this. All I can do is educate, I suppose, and start and just bite it off piecemeal. Keep repeating it, trying to repeat it in different ways and varying ways and show you bits and pieces, because it is a lot to take in. Like, this is just 1% of what I've got to talk about. It's just crazy, and I look crazy, and I'll probably be called crazy, and I sit there and I go, I don't know what to do. All I know is that our kids are vulnerable and our people are vulnerable, and they're being sort of weaponized, like this COVID stuff, right? It's vaxxers war. If you see the COVID wars and the mask stuff and all these things, right, as propaganda, right? But why they're picking on one group versus another, but it is for certain interests. You see the interests at play when you see what they report as fact and what they report as fiction and what they report as a conspiracy, who they ban, who they fucking promote, like it's all just the same, like big pharma, it's all just the same fucking war. It's the same war, which is America. And also what they will do, and part of I imagine, this is now international relations shit, but what I imagine that they're doing is, again, I don't know what China's doing, but they're going to use fuckery to sow distrust in China, so that, first of all, if China or Russia beat us to a vaccine, we don't trust it, right? So that, again, so the US owns the vaccine and the US pharmaceutical companies own the patents, right? It's so cynical. And I'm seeing it. You see what's happening. But also they're trying to fucking start shit with China. Whether or not China's starting shit back, and it's just, we know they're all fucking with each other. That's one thing we know to be true, right? We're in a Cold War. We have been for some time. It's just hasn't changed. There's still still communism versus liberalism, like American fucking bullshit. That's something, again, we know to be true, but it's anyway, it's just, I don't know how to fight this except to just remind people that they're being fucked with, and to question what they're doing, to make sure that when they think thoughts or make an argument or see something that makes them upset, that they rather than instantly react and like sort of argue about it, look at that reflex and explore it, and instantly look at the opposite side of things. Look at the opposing argument. The argument is probably not that either. The answer is that they're all doing it. They're all fucking with your head. So it's better to just only, and this is something I'm trying to do, is to only speak about things that I actually know that are true, right? That I've seen I've said this. I'm only going to speak about things that I've seen and that I know and that I've experienced and that have some sort of historical basis. Right. And again, history is complex and all that sort of thing. But patterns of behavior, look at the patterns, look at the behavior, look at the interests, right? When you see something, look at who benefits from it, right? Look at what the end game is, right? Between the two scenarios, between the two truths, which is that if your mother is saying that you're fine as you are in your body, and the internet is telling you that you're not, and that you need to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on fucking shit, that maybe something's off. That might be something that you need to explore. You're being propagandized and radicalized into like what we thought were cults. The reason why they all look like cults is because it's using cult practices, just marketing and radicalization. The problem is that only one side is being accused of this, right? The biggest cult of all is going unreported, which is the cult of US greed and imperialism and fucking... Anyway, I don't think anyone has any interest in really questioning that. I do, right? I think I'd rather get paid in being right and knowing that I tried to convince people that this thing is evil and that there's not going to be reform. The tech companies won't be regulated. Biotech won't be, unless we fucking wake up. So I'm going to go. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your precious life seconds. I will talk tomorrow. Oh no, it's Friday, isn't it? Yeah, I'll talk to you on Monday. I'm going to try and do a bit more like piecemeal stuff. But, it's good news. Ultimately, it's good news because we know what's going on. When you can diagnose what's going on, right? When you can diagnose it, you can fight it. When you know your enemy. this is not a bewildering, brand new phenomenon that is complex and unexplainable. It's a same old phenomenon that's complex, right? And fucking ongoing. But, you know, I think we're close to getting there. But what's going to be interesting to see is if there are allies or interests in those that actually are sitting around demonizing the woke cult or the MAGA cult or whatever, and seeing whether they have allies, enemies, or interests. So let's have a look at that one, eh? That's going to be an interesting one to see. I love you. The answer is Marx. You're going to hate me for that, but it's true. I love you. Have a great weekend. Bye.